What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast from GoBundance. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. And today I had a great chat with GoBundance member, family man, businessman, traveling man, Renaissance man, Jon Huber. He's out of Florida. We got into Airbnb stuff. We got into the market, what's going to happen, where he sees it going. He's got kind of a nerd background, I call it, a computer science background, nerd in the coolest way. Where he looks at data and analyzes things. And he gave his take on what he's seeing in the data on where the market's going, what the bubble, if it exists, is, and where he sees valuations going over the next few years. Again, no one knows for sure, but it was interesting to hear his take. We go from there into his travel schedule, which is insane. In fact, his handle at Jon the Traveling Investor is where you can find him on Instagram and TikTok and other platforms. Just a great conversation. This was really flowing. We talked about his pod, how his pod has created an entity and invested in a property in Charleston, and now is starting to implement EOS from Traction with Gino Wickman. That book, if anybody's familiar with it, they're implementing that into their pod as they scale their business of being a pod. Just awesome discussion. Hope you enjoy it. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you think of this incredible episode with Jon Huber. Welcome. How's it going?
It's going great, man. Can't complain. I'm in Florida for the winter, so.
That's a good point. There's snow out on the ground right now. So for me, not a great place to be up here in Michigan, but we'll have a nice spring, I hope. So let's go into the depths of you. Start with your backstory. Are you from Florida, like nobody is, or are you from somewhere else and migrated there? Give me kind of from there on.
So I'm from New Jersey,
of course.
Jersey Shore, born and raised. And I actually come from a real estate family. Mom got in it in 1984. I got sisters that are in it. My sisters' husbands are involved. I mean, it's what we talked about at Thanksgiving dinners growing up. So I was kind of born into it. So I got my real estate license in 2004 as a young 20-something, and it sold real estate till 2007, just like everyone else did, and got out of it when the market crashed. So I fell back on my degree, which is I got a computer science degree, and worked in New York, moved to LA, worked out there for about 5 years, and that's when I started investing. So I purchased out in LA, but quickly priced out of the market there when the market rebounded in 2012, and now investing in South Florida. And I got to South Florida because that's where my family always vacationed. So I started picking up properties in Palm Beach County and eventually moved here.
When did you start buying the properties in Florida? What year?
2015.
Oh, wow. All right. So so let's flash forward for a second. What is your portfolio like today? Still in LA, Palm Beach, or where are you?
I'm in 4 different states. So I still not selling anything in Los Angeles, and still portfolio in South Florida. I have 89 units. 95 units in the Kansas City market. I just closed on 28 units in Charleston, and putting another 19 under contract.
Plus 19. And what's in LA?
LA, I have 1 in LA, and
like a single family kind of house. Is that what you
yeah.
Okay.
And then in Florida, I have a sixplex, a single, and I just closed on, I did a 1031 and I purchased a pure Airbnb in Deerfield Beach, Florida. And it's cooking right now. I'm loving it.
Yeah. Airbnb is funny. My business partner and I on a deal locally that I have a 16 unit property. We're just talking about our refi, and we think we're going to drag a couple $100,000 out of it. And like, what do we do? Like, maybe we buy an Airbnb in Florida, like as opposed to another multifamily. Everyone's cash flowing like crazy on Airbnb right now.
It's absolutely nuts. I mean, I got a killer deal on this. And it's funny because I paid 40K over asking, and it's still a great deal.
Yeah.
And everything's working out. I mean, it took a little bit to get it furnished and to get it ready, but I mean, it's got a pool, a hot tub, a tiki bar. I mean, it is perfect. I threw myself a 40th birthday party there because it's such an awesome space for like entertaining. So it has Airbnb all over it. It has 2 kitchens. It's got like an in-law suite. So
wow.
It's killer. I'm super pumped up about it. I'm booked. All of February just got booked.
About to ask you, what does that look like? Like right now, the Airbnb market is absolutely hot, and we've had a couple Airbnb guests on, and they talked in the same terms, like where you are, Florida, the
Yeah.
Gulf Coast, maybe, or in these sort of these destinations, if you will. But are you having any? Are there months with vacancy at all at this point?
Right. Everyone's booked up, but
Well,
also it's pretty seasonal. I'm starting at the beginning of the season. The season down here is October to May. Everybody wants to be here from October to May, and I purchased it, just at the beginning of the season. So I don't know what that looks like, but from the people I know and the people that I talk to, no one has any problems with the Airbnbs, because this is the thing, right? There is this decentralization that's going on in
yeah,
America where people are realize, what do you mean I don't have to live in Chicago to work in Chicago? Well, I'm just going to go to Florida for a month. And people are doing that. I mean, I did the same thing,
I did it.
during
Yeah.
COVID, right? So that's what's happening. So this is, as long as you're in one of these touristy destinations where people want to go year round, you're not going to have any problems.
Dude, I dropped 15 grand for the month of February on an Airbnb this past February in Hollywood, Florida, right on the beach,
Yeah.
top floor, beautiful, 3 bed, 3 bath, gorgeous for a
Yeah.
month. To your point, I didn't have to be anywhere, and now we're getting ready as we record this right before Christmas time, after Christmas, to go to the Dominican for a few weeks. It was going to be 5. My wife just modified it yesterday, like let's just do 3 before I head to Park City. But you can, to your point, like the world has become that. Is that what you're finding? I'm kind of
Yes.
curious, like who's renting? Is it local people looking for, I don't know, a little staycation, or is it medical professionals because you're near a hospital, or is it vacationers from the north, or is it everything? Like who's renting from you?
I see families that are just like, you know what? We just want to get out, or people that don't have really young kids that are stuck in school,
Sure.
or people that are even homeschooling. I'm finding like, so I'm finding that these are young people that maybe just don't even have kids, that are just like, I want to be down in Florida. I don't want to be in Vermont. I don't want to, I mean, this is a high concentrated area for people from the middle Atlantic states. Like it seems like everyone from this area in Florida is from either, you know,
New
Pennsylvania,
Jersey?
Philadelphia, New Jersey, New York, Connecticut. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of people from those areas that are just like, I don't want to be there in the winter, so I'm coming down here. And I mean, they're working. And a lot of the things that you need in these Airbnbs now are designated work areas, because everybody's working remote now. I can do whatever I do as long as there's an internet connection. So
Yeah.
everyone else is doing the same thing, and they're just doing it from my place in Florida. So that's what I'm seeing a lot of young professionals that are just like, I don't want to be in the cold area. I want to be able to just stop what I'm doing, go out, take a dip in the pool, come back, send a couple more emails, and really have an enjoyable work-life balance. Because I lived in New York for 5 years, and I did the grind, and it is brutal,
Yeah.
you know. So down here, it's just it's just a different way of life. Now, another thing that you're going to find of people that are buying Airbnbs down here, or people that are renting Airbnbs, are people that are looking to move down here,
Sure.
but they can't buy a property because the market's so hot. So
Sure.
they'll move out of their place. They'll sell their property in the middle Atlantic states. They'll cash out. They'll get a crap ton of money, and now they're down here just waiting to buy. But every property they're trying to buy, they're getting purchased or outbidded on. So they're just like, well, I need to stay somewhere while before I purchase. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. No, I see that now. My wife and I, when I left my job, thought about, do we move to Austin? Do we move to Florida? But it's like, yeah, we'll sell. We have equity, but man, what you're paying for at this point, it's ridiculously expensive. So right now in those types of markets, so that makes sense. It's funny you mentioned the homeschooling. Like I think that's a big piece of it. There's a lot of people in COVID that converted to homeschooling or alternative education, like we did with Acton Academy, right? So where it's valued to get experiences like that. Like my kids get to explore the beach and a different community, different lifestyle, all of that stuff, which you couldn't do 5 years ago, right? It was like, nope, spring break, this, that, and the other. But families are so much more movable now, even in that regard with school and homeschooling, that makes sense. Where in Florida right now, are there any markets that are still like you can afford it? There's an Airbnb potential for it. Like it hasn't blown up yet. Like, are there any little beach communities anywhere in Florida right now that are not red hot?
I can't think of any. I mean, it's just insane down here. I mean, there's some areas on the West Coast that I hear about, Port Charlotte, some areas outside of Sarasota, but But as anything on the Atlantic side, anything from as far down to Miami all the way up to Port St. Lucie, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, people are overpaying just to get in. Like I just said, the one that I purchased in Deerfield, I had to go 40K above asking and remove every contingency just to have my, offer even go for consideration. So it's scorching red hot still.
Yeah. Like the
But
Florida sun. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, and there's some areas that you may be good. Like there's an area called Stewart. It's in between West Palm and Port St. Lucie. That might be one of the only areas.
Yeah. No, I'll have to take a look because we're looking. So I was a little bit selfish in asking that question. Like, hey, where should I look if I'm looking to buy an Airbnb property?
Honestly, though, if I were you, I mean, I live in Boca Raton, and there's actually a few GoPros around here. I mean, this area is great. I mean, this is unreal when it comes to families. I mean, even property appreciation. I mean, you can't go wrong anywhere here. But you have to think about what your needs are, right? You want to think about the schools, but if you're doing the homeschool, you still want to think about the areas. You want to think it's also going to be an investment. I mean, we can go back and forth whether your primary home's an investment or not, but it's still something you're going to be dumping money into, and it's still going to be something that you're going to want to get a return out of whenever you decide to sell. So that's something we can talk about later.
No, and you're in a bunch of markets. So maybe this is a question. I'm sure you look at this: Kansas City, Charleston, LA, South Florida, or Florida generally. Do you see any end? Is there any fundamental interest rates going up, whatever, that marks an end, a quote unquote bubble, as we say right now? To your point, like, it's the same in the crypto markets, right? Like, buy, it's going to 250. Everybody's kind of convinced of that. Crypto is going to go up and up and up. Are housing prices, are we in the middle of the end of a cycle? I mean, and again, I know you don't have I say this to everybody, you don't have a crystal ball, but just your take, because I know where I stand. I'm curious where you stand on what is the future look like for the next 5-10 years from a valuation perspective in your, with what you've looked at.
So I'll say this, I'm a data guy, and, being a computer science guy, I'm a coder by nature. I look at data. I'm classically trained to look at data and define patterns in the pattern list. Like that's what I'm really good at. And I'll say this, I don't see an end. Now it's what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is like, 2008, 2009, when everything crashed, that was more of a US market crash. I think that things are going to be more, regional. Like I think I think that the cold states, I hate to say it, Michigan,
Minnesota, I'm with you. Yeah.
Illinois, Ohio. I think a lot of these places, people are leaving. Like you're seeing the population, every major market in Ohio has a declining population except Columbus, right? Yeah. Cincinnati a little bit is kind of leveled off. But people are leaving these areas because they realize that they don't have to live in these areas. They don't have, like, don't get me wrong, Chicago is a gorgeous city.
Awesome city, yeah.
4 months out of the year. Right?
Yeah.
But it's a great place to be, but I would never want to be in Chicago December, January, February. So, I mean, people are realizing that. And then they're just moving to these areas. And the other thing is that there's a high tax rate in these areas. Right. And people are realizing that, like, okay, so you're saying if someone's going to match my salary in Tennessee, Texas, Florida, where there's no state income tax, that's a 14% pay. So when I went from California to Florida, I got a 14% pay increase because I'm not paying California state income tax. Yeah. Like and people are realizing this, so that's why I think people are moving to these areas, is the taxes, the weather. So when I'm going to talk about no end in sight, I'm talking about those specific markets. Sure. I think there's going to be a decline in some markets, but as far as like Texas and Florida, Tennessee, even the Carolinas and Georgia, all these places where people are moving, I don't see any end. I think the low interest rates help that. Sure. Low inventory, and it's more transactional, right? Like in 2008, 2009, there was so much supply and not enough people to buy those homes because people were buying something and putting it back on the market and just kind of flipping it. And now you're seeing a lack of supply. Like people are just like, oh my God, there's something in the market. Like, I went to an open house in my neighborhood very recently. And as soon as I walk in, the realtor's like, hey, just letting you know, we have 2 full price cash offers sight unseen. And I'm just like, I'm just the nosy neighbor. Like, I just want to see how they laid their house out. And they're like, oh, do you want to sell? And I'm like, no. Like, you're missing the point. Like, I'm just, but that's the real estate market down here. That's the reality of it. So people are just overpaying to get in. So I don't see any end in, I think that this is the new norm. And also, I hate to say, the buzzword of the year is inflation. Inflation is real. Hard assets are going up, and that's just a part of the economics of it. You're not, any price that you pay in these hot areas of Florida, you'll never see those prices again. That's why I didn't care about overpaying $40,000 on a property.
Yeah.
Because in 2, 3, 5 years from now, I'm not going to care.
Right. No, I completely agree. And the other, I mean, just I don't know, you call it modern monetary theory or whatever, but the policies today are print. It's not just us. Look, every country has printed more money in the last year of their currency than they've ever printed in the history of their country, right? Like, no country is like figuring this all out. I listened to Peter Schiff, the gold guy, right? Peter Schiff, is that his name? I think so. And he talks about, like, well, if we're not producing and we're spending, we're a consumerist society, then at some point there's a reckoning, because the other countries that are producing, it's like no country has that balance struck, in my opinion. And every country is printing money like crazy. No politician, no Fed chairman wants to be the one that pulls the lever that crashes it all down. So yeah, we'll see interest rates pop up, but I believe that the moment there's pain, right back to zero, right? They're going to, that's the lever they're going to pull, and they're going to print, and, whatever it's going to be. I was just talking to a podmate about this, like, even, the student debt bubble, we'll print our way out of that. I believe, like, there's just, anything's on the table anymore. And who knows where the reckoning is? I'm sure there is one. I know there is one at some point, but I mean, I'm with you. I'm less a data guy, more a tea leaves guy. And my tea leaves are saying, I just don't, absent a black swan event, something unforeseen, which then we're all in trouble. I don't see how, especially the markets you're in, are going anywhere but up at this point. So,
right. And the thing is, people have money right now.
Yeah.
And I understand, I'm not going to get into the politics of it, but COVID created a very binary environment, binary 1 or 0. Like, it was like, either if you were in the service industry, if you were in the entertainment industry or events, you had the worst year ever. If
True.
you were in real estate, e-commerce, or one of these other, you had the best year ever. So that's what I mean by binary. It was completely polar is probably a better word for that. It was completely polarized. And then you have the government that needs to step in, because people are hurting. People really need this help, but the government can't pick and choose who they're going to help and who they're not going to help. So they just helped everybody. So you could have had the best year ever, and then you're getting even more money.
Yeah.
So people are just, and then if you're in a middle Atlantic state where you've lived for the last 10 years and you have so much equity and the prices are going crazy, and then you can even cash out of that, which we're seeing a lot of coming down to Florida. So people are coming, because, like, who has $700,000 just sitting in their bank account? Like, some people do.
Yeah.
But so many people do. Like, so many people are coming down with that kind of money, just ready to dump on a property. And that's really what we're seeing. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that COVID, some people had their best year ever. Then they get some sort of government assistance because they can, and they probably should have, and then they cash out in their home that they've had for so many years. So they're just coming down and able to drop that kind of money. So that's another reason, because there's a lot of cash buyers. And that's why another reason why the prices keep going up, because if you're dropping that kind of cash on something, you're not going to have an appraisal.
Isn't it funny?
Therefore, that's the new comp.
Yeah. That's a great point. That's a great point. You're driving up prices. Isn't it funny too? You're right. And this is the value of being somebody who owns assets. I mean, you own a ton more than I do, but the way that government assistance worked was based on your adjusted gross income. Right. Like, top line for you, for me, for a lot of guys in GoBundance, like, that number is big. Yours is bigger than mine, but you get my point. Like, your number is bigger than mine. Let me clarify that. Your number is bigger than mine. But But bottom line, because of owning assets that you can depreciate and leverage bonus depreciation and everything else like that, I got a check. Like I was like somebody making 80 grand or 60 grand, right? It was a little bit like jarring. Like, what should I do with this? But what do you do? I'm like, send it back. We donated, like we gave money
Right.
to charity. You know what I mean? Like we did something I think good with it, but it was like for some, it was like an epiphany for me. Like, oh no, we're not going to get into this. I make too much. But then it's like, oh wait, no, 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 because of the value of assets. The value of owning assets is that you hear about it, but this is the time when all of those factors really. So my appreciation goes up. That's one of the values of owning assets, real estate, right? We always hear that. Like in an inflationary environment, when people are feeling the crunch of milk and gas, the value of the hard assets that you and I and others own go up. So that's appreciation value, right? The tax benefits we just talked about, the adjusted gross income puts you in a pantheon of making people making much, much less. So then you benefit from these programs I didn't even know I would benefit from, but then I'm able to then contribute in some way with that money. It's just, and then as prices go up, rents are going up, right? So
Yeah.
rents are going up or as we inflate, rents are going up, which means the value of my asset is now going up even more, and my cash flow is going up against debt that's been in place for a few. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it just all boils down to what you said: overpaying by $40,000, not overpaying, paying 40,000 over asking on an asset in a market that's hot with no fundamentals indicating any downturn. And if there is one, there is one. I mean, again, something happens, God forbid, that creates it, then it creates it. But there's nothing fundamentally there like it was in 07, 08. That's like a bubble. Other than the prices are high, it's frothy. It's all of that stuff people talk about. So interesting. I
Yeah.
love hearing the computer science angle. Go for it. Yeah.
And also another thing is that the hedge against inflation, that when you put debt on these properties,
Yeah.
they just quoted the inflation rate at what, 4.6.
Is it that high? I didn't see that.
Well, my interest rate is less than that.
Right.
So I'm being paid to
Yeah.
own the asset.
Yeah. That's a great point. Is it that high? 4.6 is the inflation rate right now?
That's what I saw.
Insane. All right, let's pivot a little bit. I just want to real quick on the 28 units in Charleston. Is that a JV? Are you syndicating? What does that look
So
like in Charleston?
that is my very first syndication ever.
Nice,
And that was a GoPod deal.
cool. Give
So
me, what do you mean? Go pod
okay.
deal.
So all right, we're in GoBundance. We have pods. So it's 4 or 5 guys that get together, and we go through the hard stuff, right? We go through our financials, we go through the vulnerabilities, we're there for each other. And each one of us has a different skill set. And we were like, you know what, if we're going to be doing this intimate relationship and we all have different skill sets that we can all contribute, let's do a deal together. So we syndicated a deal. So 4 of us, we closed with our own money. And then now we're doing the friends and family raise after we
Sure.
closed.
Yeah.
But it was an amazing deal. I mean, it's conservative. We were conservative, and it still was a good deal. And now it's looking even better. So just some quick numbers on that.
Yeah.
It was 28 units. We can actually get a 29th unit out of it because they had a leasing office, which you don't need a leasing
on
office
a 28 unit.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yeah.
So that's going to be a studio now.
Yeah.
The purchase price, 2.675. We are going to be on the loan for 2.1. So we're going to raise some money through our friends and family. And it's the average rents on this property were 720. And
2 beds, 1 beds, studios. What are they?
So they're all 2-1s.
2-1s.
Yeah,
Wow.
they're all 2-1s. And
720 in Charleston.
Yeah. So, North Charleston, but the guy that owned it for 30 years, never raised rents, didn't really do much to it. People have been there for 15 years paying the same rent. And, so we thought, we were like, all right, we could probably get the rents up to 1,100. And we're just like, wow, 720 to 1,100. We're going to kill it. So we did our first turn, 1,150.
Oh my God.
We did our second turn, 1,250. So we're looking better than expected.
$500 in rent increase.
And that's just the first 2 units. And, we're going to be turning these units over by, attrition. So as someone moves out, but, we're thinking that now that there's new management, few people are just going to be, I don't feel comfortable, so I'm going to find a new place to live. I see that they're going in and renovating units. They're probably going to be increasing rent. I can't afford more than this. I'm just going to go out on my own. So that's what we're seeing. We see the writing on the wall that there's going to be more people leaving, which is great for us.
Yeah, sure. Tell me
Yeah.
about structure on this. So there's four of you in it. What's is it just 25 apiece as far as the share of the general partnership, or did you split it in a different way? Did somebody find the deal? Did you bring equal money? Just kind of give me an overview of
Okay.
what this looks like.
One guy found the deal. We partnered with a guy locally there. So we have a GoBro in Charleston. That's part of the deal. On the GP side, we're all, 25% on the GP side. We've all been putting work in, different things here and there. We have a task list that like, hey, this person's doing this. Hey, this person's doing this. This person's reaching out to property management. This person's reaching out to the lender. This person's doing docs. And we're going to be implementing an EOS system into our GoPod for that exact thing, because now we're looking to scale up. We're all raising money.
Become a business. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, this is really what we're doing, because it's working out well, right? We have a system in place, and we're going to start refining that system. And we're all GoBros, so it's like we all get it. We all are like, all right, we understand that this is what we need to do in order to really scale this thing.
Amazing, man. That's incredible.
And,
Go ahead. Yeah.
And we did all bring in equal money.
Equal money. Yeah. I hear this more and more from different pods, and my pod and I have been toying with this for a bit, like finding a deal together, doing something together. Well, a pod mate of mine and I today, we're talking about splitting a metaverse share, some sort of digital land. Like as we start to dive into that sandbox or whatever the hell it's called, have you heard, are you in this space at all?
Yeah, no, I'm not. And I don't want to be. I know listen, I just saw the thing. Gary V made $90 million in 90 days.
I saw that too. I didn't see what it was. Is that what it was about?
Yeah, it was about NFT. Listen, I'm a tech guy.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand it. But this is the thing, right? I'm also a very real world type of guy. Like I'm not a gamer. I don't do Call of Duty. I don't put the headset on. I don't get into any of that, because this is the thing, right? Whether you are in the metaverse or not, you're still going to have to pay rent, and you're still going to have to store your equipment somewhere. And you're still, whether you lock yourself in your room and let's just say you make all your money on NFTs, you make all your money in the metaverse, like you have a job in the metaverse and you get paid in crypto, you're still going to be paying me rent because you're still locked in your room. Like, I'm very much a reality type guy. Like I've never been a gamer. I've never gotten into that. And I don't want to, and I don't want my kids to do that either. 'Cause I think there's something to be said about being able to just
exist. Yeah.
Be in exist.
World,
right.
Yeah.
Be in the real world,
Yeah. Makes sense. Interesting. Well, we'll see what happens, but that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. I've heard a lot of pods talk about buying mobile home parks together, buying multifamily property together. So really, really cool that you're doing that. Let's pivot over to a few questions from maybe the kind of the one sheet. I'm going to touch on this, but we haven't talked family yet. And we led with, you're a family man first. Yes. So what does the family look like? Give me an overview.
Family man first. So, so I have beautiful wife and two kids. So it's funny. So I was in New York and she was in LA, and I moved to LA for a girl I met 5 times. So I am kind of an all-in type of guy. Yeah. But it worked out. So
she's the girl, just to be clear.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it was like another girl, and then you met her after you moved there, but no, she's the girl. 5 times.
She's the girl. So it worked out. Yeah. And 2 kids later, I got a 4-year-old girl and a 3-year-old boy. And they are, they're awesome. They're maniacs. They're just like me. So they're really great. And I'm still at that age where like I can just take them wherever. Like they're in daycare, so they're not in that school system yet where it's like, no, you can't take your kids out on a Thursday and Friday and go on a 4-day weekend wherever you want. Which is great, because during the pandemic, we traveled. So it's,
Are you looking at options for them or no? Are you going traditional school and just kind of putting them into kindergarten or whatever?
Going to do traditional school because the school system where I live is 10 out of 10 on gradeschools.org. So I didn't know this when I moved here 6 years ago, but 3 years ago, 2 years ago, they tore down the old school that was a K-5, and they put in like a brand new high-tech K-8. Wow. And it's like top of the line, everything. And it's, I hate that I have to say this in this day and age, but it's like super secure. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's locked down. I
We
mean,
just had that happen here in Michigan, right? Not too
yeah,
far from where I live, unfortunate event like that. So yeah, I'm with you.
but I mean, I'm gonna get a golf cart and just drive them to school because apparently that's what everyone does in my neighborhood is buy golf carts and like just cart around. So
I love it. I
I'm
love it.
super excited about
You're like a
that.
retiree at 40. That's
Yeah, oh,
awesome.
it's so good.
That's amazing. All right, let's talk about health. So, what's your current body weight, body fat percentage? Let's go with that.
So I'm extremely active. I've been an athlete my whole life. I used to do the hardcore triathlons, um, tone that down a little bit, but I I'm weights at like 190. I think I weighed at 192. Body fats 12 or 13 at this
Wow.
point.
Wow.
I mean, I still to this day I play basketball 4 days a week. I run 2, 3 days a week, and still hit weights. I mean, I'm exercising every day, but I mean, basketball is my love. I mean, I hoop a
That's
lot.
funny. I play every Saturday. I'm 5'7", so I just like stay outside and pass to other people. But
Yeah.
I don't like just running. You mentioned about running. Like for me, it's probably good for me to do to get out of my own head. But I get bored, I guess, in a
Yeah.
way. So basketball is running with purpose to me. So I love playing basketball for that reason too. That's funny.
Running is when I get all my podcast time in.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that. I could see that. I can hear
Yeah.
myself breathing and I start like hearing music in my breath. It's weird. So I just, anyway. What about diet? What does your diet look like?
Diet. Oh man, I feel like I just got into juicing, and I feel it's kind of like CrossFit. Like you just have to tell people that you just got into it. So I've been juicing, but I mean I'm pretty lean. I stay away from the bad stuff, but diet is pretty much low fat, low carb, high protein. Egg whites every morning. But the too much coffee.
Too much coffee. We talked
Yeah.
about that before. Yeah, that's funny. All right. How about life happiness? What's your life happiness index at right now? What are you working on?
So life happiness index, I think I had it like a 7. Um,
Okay.
I need help, and this is something that I worked on when I was out in Steamboat, and I got a lot of help on this. So I would say when it comes to like my adventure style, like because obviously the adventure stuff is on there. I'm like at a 10. I mean, I travel a lot, probably excessive.
Mm.
But where I think that I really lack is authentic relationships. And I think I use my travel as an excuse. It's like, I can't have dinner with you guys because like I'm in, whatever country. It's like, I'm busy and I use that as an excuse. I have a lot of friends that like I'll scratch the surface with, but really getting to that deep, vulnerable, intimate relationship, I think that's where I lack. And it's funny because I was doing my one sheet in Steamboat, and I said like this is one of the things that I struggle with. So there's me, 3 other Go Bros, and we came up with this idea. So I have like I do my miracle morning every morning, and one of the things that I was doing in my journalism entries are when I'm going to pick 3 people every day that I'm going to reach out to, right? One's going to be a family member, one's going to be just a random person, and one's going to be a GoBro. So I'm going to reach out to these 3 people every day. And then I'm going to cross it off. And then we actually had a monetary value for each person that I missed. And I went perfect that month,
Yeah.
because I had motivation.
Yeah.
And I had another bet with another guy because he was trying to outsource his showings. And, we both went perfect. So yeah, I mean, it really, something like that really worked out because I saw the benefits that month. People were hitting me back up and they're just like, hey man, it's so great to hear from you. Like, so great to connect. Like, I know we don't talk every day, but it's just let you know I'm thinking about you. And just like seeing those kind of messages are really, really, really nice. And, sending those messages are really nice as well. So I think the creating authentic relationships is the thing that I need help with the most.
Mm. Interesting. That's awesome. I love how you gamified it though. You and
Yeah.
somebody else holding each other accountable for 2 different things and some gamification around it. That's very cool. What about contribution? Where do you spend time or money?
So one of the things my wife and I are helping out with is she's very passionate about the human trafficking.
Mm.
So we give a lot to those funds as well. My sister has a cancer foundation we used to dedicate a lot of time to. but that's actually something that I really want to pick up on. And it was one of the things that I put on my one sheet, is that I want to find a singular foundation that I'm passionate. I mean, I give to, One Life Fully Lived every time I'm at an event. But I wanted to find another charity that I feel really, really strongly about. I think it's going to be something surrounded with kids, kind of like a big brother, big sister type deal. So that's one of the things that I put on my one sheet, as this is one of my goals for the year.
No, I love that. That's great. I love that. It is hard to find that thing. I found I read a book from a guy who, and I've never suffered with addiction, but his story was just so compelling to me that I found myself being passionate about his organization, his charity, for helping people that are suffering with addiction, teenagers, all of that stuff. So I know what you mean. It is nice to kind of latch on to something that means something to you, as opposed to just, I'll help there. But of course it's meaningful, but it's not like that passion play for you. Right. So I completely get that.
One of the things that my wife and I did talk about doing is going to like the Walmart, the layaway programs, and doing so. I think somebody mentioned that in the Facebook, and I thought that was you?
Well, it was me from an Ascend guy. So Rich Tavish, Rich, if you're out there listening, Rich put that in the Ascend group. Like, hey, I go to the layaway at Walmart and I pay for somebody's, buy now, buy here, pay later, whatever they call it now. And I said, hey guys, this is a great idea from Ascend, and a bunch of guys picked up on it. It looks like you did too. Yeah.
I mean, me saying that that's what I'm doing kind of defeats the purpose of it. But I think that now that, I think it's good to create the awareness.
That's what it does, right? People listening are like, oh, that's a great idea. It's such a simple, easy thing. And some guys, it's funny. Some guys posted like, do you ask like for something where they're buying gifts for kids? And I'm like, I guess you could, but does it matter? At the end of the day, like,
Right. And $100 $100 means something different to me than it does for somebody that needs to go on that program. So I think that was an awesome idea. Thank you for that.
Rich. Yeah. He's actually a Charleston area guy. So maybe you can hook up with him. He can help you out with some stuff down there.
Yeah, that's probably great.
Let's do the wrap this up with the card game question from the GoBundance app. This is the 3 of diamonds. And the question is, if your 5-year-old self if your 5-year-old self was suddenly found inhabiting your current body, what would your 5-year-old self do first? If you're 5 years old in your current body, what would you do? What would your 5-year-old self make this body do?
Oh, wow. What would my 5-year-old self make my current body do?
Yeah. If you were just a 5-year-old internally right now, what would your 5-year-old self be telling you to do?
I would probably, because I'm an adult and I can drive, I would probably drive until my tank of gas ran out, because when I was that young, I would wander off and just explore on my own. And, I would be gone. And like, if my parents didn't like keep an eye on me at all times, like there's this one time, like I still remember as a kid, I just decided to just walk the streets of Baltimore. I took my dog, I had my diaper on, and I just walked the streets. And I still remember this, cops coming up to me. They're like, where are your parents? Like some old ladies were trying to get me in with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on their stoops. And I was just literally walking the streets of Baltimore as a child.
Oh my
And I
God.
see the look on your face, because that's the same look that, like, when if I think about my kids doing that. But yeah, I was just gone, and I wasn't crying or anything. I was having a great time, which is kind of what I do now. I wander, I travel, I just go off.
Yeah, it's also Baltimore. Like if it were New York City this age, like when you and I grew up, you probably remember this, like Times Square, you couldn't go there. Like that was not a place. My parents would tell me, I grew up in New York, so don't go to Times Square. Like when you go on a field trip into the city or whatever. And now, like, Times Square is everything, right? So today, New York or Boston, sure. But like Detroit, Baltimore, there's a half of those cities that are amazing. Detroit here, amazing. Half of the city. But there's a half that's not amazing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
When I hear Baltimore, that scares me. Yeah,
I couldn't tell you, but I do remember taking my dog and just going. So that's what I would do if my 5-year-old body inhabited this body. I would go explore somewhere that I've never been. But it's pretty funny, because that's what I'm doing today. Yeah. Like during COVID, like I'm traveling. I was in Turkey for 5 weeks. I was in Sweden for 6 weeks. Like I'm doing those things that my 5-year-old wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know who you are. That's authentic to you. I love it, man. Where can people learn more about you, what you're doing, reach out, whatever you want to share? A social media handle, a website, an email address. What would you like to share with folks?
Let's see. Social media would be John the Traveling Investor. You can see some of my travels. You can see some of the things I'm investing on. I have a TikTok as well. Man, I had to do it.
Yeah.
So it's the same handle, John the Traveling Investor. Can reach out to me there. I'm on the, I'm not so much on Facebook unless it's with GoBundance, but yeah, feel free to reach out. You can find out what we're doing with some of our syndications. If somebody wants to look at some of the sample deals that we have that we've already closed on. But yeah.
Love it, man. Love it. Thanks for being on here, brother. I appreciate the story. Just talking through even just the market dynamics, kind of geeking out on that was a lot of fun. So I appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely, man.
Cool.